Welcome friends. So we discussed in the last session about process of movement from experimentation to incubation, and we discussed that in the process of incubation we need to have two very important things. One is the structure of incubation and the second is the effective review process. The effective review process is not only required for the selection of idea for the incubation purpose, but it is also required during the process of incubation. When some incubating company is in the incubator, so if the company is for 1 year or 2 year, during that period we require a very effective review of the progress of that incubating company, so that it moves out of incubator as a successful graduate. Unfortunately, at present we do not have a very encouraging number of these successful graduates from the incubators, but I am sure if we have a well defined, a proper effective review system in our incubators, we can have a much better output in terms of number of graduate companies coming out of incubators will certainly increase. Now, because innovation is a very important team activity, the topic which we are going to discuss in this session is about idea championship. Now, you will think that what do we mean by idea championship? What is the role of champion in this process of innovation management? So, the role of champion is very important. Sometimes it happens that the person who is coming with new idea is not able to take that idea forward because of some limitation. One of the limitation can be the limitation of personality, that I am not able to put my idea properly in front of others, and here others may be the investors. Understand in this way that I have an idea, but now I need investors in my idea, those who can put money in that idea, so that I can go for incubation, I can go for commercialization of my idea. So, I need some kind of investment in my idea. Idea is very good, but I am not able to present the idea in front of investors. So, here I require someone who can take my idea forward, who can help me to present my idea in a more convincing manner to the investor, so that investor gives me required funds to experiment, to commercialize my ideas. So, champion, sometime you require people so that your idea becomes a mass movement. In India, very recently we saw a very mega movement to have Jan Lokpal, and Anna Hazare became the champion for the idea of Jan Lokpal, that we should have one ombudsman at the national level, so that you can bring more transparency, you can make more effectiveness in our governance, in our different offices of implementation of policies. So, the idea of having a corruption free India is not a new idea, but nobody was able to take this idea forward. Anna Hazare took this challenge and made a mass movement about taking this idea forward, and because of his personality, because of the credibility he has, because of lot of drama also I will say, he became the champion of this idea. And as a result of this championship, we saw emergence of people like Arvind Kejriwal, who became Chief Minister of Delhi because of this outcome of this whole movement. So, you need people who can take the idea forward. Similarly, you can link the issue of championship of idea with Mahatma Gandhi also. Mahatma Gandhi, we all know, father of nation, is the most important contributor in independence of India, and he is known for his commitment for non-violence. And when he returned from South Africa, he was thinking of different types of ways through which he can motivate, he can bring more and more people to this idea of non-violence. All of a sudden, he saw an opportunity in the form of new rule invoked by Britishers at that time, and that was the law of salt. And to register his protest against the law of salt, he made a very famous movement that we all know as Dandi March, and that famous Dandi March became the tipping point for the freedom struggle of India. How it became a tipping point? Because this created a kind of mass movement in favor of non-violence, and Mahatma Gandhi used all those techniques which an idea champion must use for propagating the idea. And during the course of this session, we will see that how these techniques helped Mahatma Gandhi to become an idea champion of non-violence. So, first question which comes to our mind is, who is champion? Now, who is champion? The answer is, who opens new channels for the idea to move forward. He is a champion, and champions the shape of path for the elephant. If we go back to our analogy of elephant and rider, so champions are like riders. Champions are riders and they shape the path for the elephant. So, in case of Mahatma Gandhi issue, the elephant is public, because the power is with public. Mahatma Gandhi as alone had no power, but because Mahatma Gandhi was having support of millions of Indians at that time, so they were the real elephant. That is the power that is with public. And Mahatma Gandhi was shaping the path for them. That path is of non-violence. You follow this path, and this path of non-violence will give us the objective, and that objective was freedom of India. So, rider Mahatma Gandhi gave the path, showed the path to the public, who we can put similar to elephant, and that way your path is able to deliver the objective which you want. And they also open new channels for the idea to move forward. They give you new channels. They think that how innovatively this idea can move ahead. That is another important beauty of these champions, because if idea is not moving forward, if people are not accepting that idea, then it will not create any impact. So, the role of champion is to think new ways through which idea can move to more people, how more masses can accept this new idea. So, that is a very important role which champion do. One of the most important personality in the schools of innovation, Schumpeter, and Schumpeter says that main villain, the main barrier for diffusion of innovation. Diffusion of innovation is nothing but how your idea is traveling to different people. So, diffusion of innovation is related to traveling of idea to the masses, and for that purpose in many sessions we have discussed this particular issue, that resistance to change is the biggest challenge for diffusion of innovation. If somehow we can manage the change, and therefore subjects like change management is becoming so popular nowadays, because society is having some kind of resistance, but technology is continuously moving ahead. So, your society also need to move with technology, and we need to come out of this resistance, we need to overcome this resistance, and then only innovation will become our mindset. So, now if you see that some of the simple examples which all of us can see in India, that we all want the diffusion of idea, we all want Swachh Bharat, we want Swachh Bharat, but we have so much resistance to change that the garbage which is coming out of my house, I am not ready to throw this garbage at the proper dustbins. I will just throw that garbage in front of my main door on the road, on the streets itself. So, that habit is there. I want Swachh Bharat, I want clean India, I am very much supporter of that idea, but I also have resistance to change. So, I am not going to change my habit. You change your habit, but I am not going to change my habit. So, that type of problem is there in actually creating impact of innovation. I want transparent India, I want effective India, I want efficient India, but I am not going to change the way I am working in my office. So, therefore, we all have so much resistance to change. Government of India implemented GST few months back, and in this GST there is a very simplified tax system, but since we all are habitual of not paying the taxes properly, so we have huge resistance to adopt GST. However beneficial the system may be for all types of traders, all types of small and medium enterprises, but because we are not habitual, we are in habit of not paying the tax, therefore, we find it difficult to adjust to the new systems. So, the diffusion of innovation becomes very difficult because of our habits, and as we say that it is always difficult to change habit. If you see interestingly in this habit, you can remove H. So, when you remove H, a bit remains, and then you remove A, bit still remains. Then you remove B also, it still remains. So, it is very difficult that your habit is so strong that it is very difficult for us to completely remove and get into the new system of thoughts. So, that is again important to have champions for your idea who help us in a innovative manner to come out of the comfort zone and change our habits. So, according to Schumpeter also, we need to have champions to take our idea forward. Now, what these champions do? They make our idea sticky. When I am saying that champions take our idea forward, so taking the idea forward means they make idea to stick, and made to stick is very important thing in the idea championship. Made to stick means that your idea is going to remain permanently with the customers. It is not a one day effort, it is not a 2-day effort, it is going to remain in their minds forever. Now, Mahatma Gandhi's example is again important to discuss. Mahatma Gandhi is no more, but he made the idea of non-violence so sticky, it is so appealing to us that you start applying, or rather we have started applying non-violence almost in all the kinds of setups. We have a very peaceful way of protest. We are a democratic country, and because of this idea of non-violence, we are many times not supporting what government feels, or we are not in favor of policies or the way our organization is working. But the idea of non-violence has become so sticky in all the Indians that we highly believe in protest in a very peaceful manner. So, this idea has become so sticky, and therefore, the champions help us in making the idea sticky. Now, what are the characteristics of a sticky idea? How do we make the sticky idea? Let us see that part. Now, there are 3 important components for making an idea sticky, and these 3 important components are: one is your idea should be concrete, the idea should be solid, and not only solid, but also it should be able to give a complete picture. It should be solid and holistic, where you can show the complete picture of the idea, that, or in another word, this idea should be able to present end to end solution. If end to end solution is available, then the idea is easier to make sticky. If it is only a part of complete process, so people will not be very much convinced. So, it is important that your idea, what is the input, how it is going to process, and what is the output of this idea, that is necessary to make a concrete idea. The curiosity, as we discussed in our very first or second session, that innovation starts with curiosity, but to create some kind of idea championship, curiosity is again required. If Mahatma Gandhi would have gone by some bus, some car to protest against the law of salt, this would not have created that kind of impact. But Gandhiji travelled on foot for many days, and every evening there used to be an element of curiosity that next day which path Bapu will follow, and this element of curiosity was not only in Indians, but it was with Britishers also. About they used to have CID, that what path Gandhiji is going to follow next morning, and Gandhiji dramatized his whole Dandi march to create an element of curiosity. Almost daily this was happening during that Jan Lokpal movement, where the India Against Corruption, that NGO used to give some kind of sensational breaking news every day, and this used to be an element of curiosity, so that you are always keeping your ears open to know about happening related to that idea. So, if you can arouse a feeling of curiosity, then it is very useful for the idea to make sticky. And idea champions, they are an expert in developing this curiosity element. So, you need to sometime create some kind of buzz, some kind of drama for happening to develop the curiosity for your ideas. And then one very important thing, your individual's credibility is also very important for idea to make sticky. You should have some kind of the idea champion, you means the idea champion should have some kind of credibility to his past. If you have that type of credibility, then certainly it is very easy for you to make your idea sticky. That it is easier for champion to make that idea sticky. If that type of credibility is not there, it will be difficult for us to make public can follow you, the customers can follow you once, but if you are not delivering up to their expectations, then it will be difficult for developing the credibility for your next series of ideas. We had some company in India which promised that they are going to deliver mobile phones at the price of 250 rupees. Now, this is a fantastic idea. For country like India, giving mobile phone in 250 rupees is a fantastic idea, but they could not deliver that mobile of 250 rupees. Now, if tomorrow that company comes again to the public and say, now we are going to offer this mobile in 225 rupees, nobody is going to believe them. So, you need to have established credibility for becoming an idea champion. So, these are the three important elements which make your idea sticky. The idea should be concrete, you should be able to create some kind of curiosity, some kind of drama is required, and then you need to have some kind of credibility, and if these three things are there in your idea, then you can make your idea sticky. Now, let us see one or two examples that how in those examples we find all these three elements present, and that will help us to understand the meaning of sticky ideas. Like one example which we see, that is, so we need to have three elements. One is the solidness of the idea, the second is about the curiosity, where you see the drama, or rather the better word is buzz, and third is about the credibility. Now, in this case you have a very useful example. This is about construction of a bridge in Bihar. When this bridge is one of the most popular bridge which is connecting Bihar and UP. Now, when George Fernandez became the railway minister of this country, at that time this idea was pending since long, and since this bridge was connecting Bihar and UP. So, the initial idea of this project was that the bridge will be partly funded by railway ministry and partly it will be funded by Bihar government and UP government. When this railway we all know is a subject matter of central government, so both the governments of Bihar and UP were very reluctant to fund the project for a railway ministry. So, when George Fernandez became the railway minister of India, so what he proposed that instead of simply having a railway bridge, why do not we have a rail cum road bridge, and which can be used for railway as well as for the surface transportation. Now, this idea becomes a very solid idea. This idea becomes a very solid idea because there was a need to have a road bridge also. So, now when your railway bridge can be developed as a rail cum road bridge, so this idea was more appealing, this became a more solid idea and it was providing better solution to the existing problem. Now, in this they also calculated economic benefits to two states, and this economic benefit to two states was concerned to the chief ministers of Bihar and UP. So, both the chief ministers agreed to fund this rail cum road project, and here the credibility of George Fernandez also played important role, that because he was having a personal influence over these chief ministers, the members of planning commission, the members of railway ministry, and because of his personal credibility he was able to collect all these people together and they sat together and finally agreed, yes, this is a doable thing, and Bihar government, UP government, they also financially supported this rail cum road bridge, and a project which was there since long, idea was there, but it was not taking shape because of lack of initiative from Bihar and UP government. So, the person like George Fernandez becomes the idea champion in this example, and by presenting the idea in a more concrete manner, in a more solid manner, by converting simply a railway bridge into a rail cum road bridge and showing, you see, I have curiosity to any particular idea. If I come to know that it is going to help me, it is of my interest, then only I will be curious. Why I am be curious something which is of interest to you? So, when I provided economic benefit calculation to each of these states, Bihar and UP, and then the interest of chief ministers of two states also become the part of this process, and credibility of George Fernandez as the politician of high morale, high ethics was known to all of them. So, all these things put together became a very good example of idea champions. So, we discussed two examples, one of Mahatma Gandhi, another of John Fernandez, that how you need not to have a new idea, but if you have some idea, but the presentation of that idea on the basis of the solidness, on the basis of the curiosity, on the basis of credibility. So, these 3 C's help us to develop the idea champions, and these idea champions will help us to take our idea forward by either creating the impact because of their personality or because of new channels to take the idea forward. So, the role of champions are also important in the process of innovation management, because they will help us to finally create impact, that is very important aspect of any innovation program. So, with this we are here binding this session. Thank you very much.